Hey, what's going on, family? This is Silk, and for this episode, I got my good man here, Joe, aka JB of JB Collectibles, here in Macon, Georgia. It's at a flea market called Smiley's, and I kind of ran into this situation where about a month and a half ago, I started collecting the Fast and Furious cars, and that's what it started with, the 124 scale Fast and Furious cars. And JB really doesn't have a lot of the 124 scale. He has the 164 scale Hot Wheels cars like you see spinning here. And next thing I know, this man's like a crack dealer. He's been feeding me all this crack, and I've been coming here every weekend, sometimes even on Sundays after church, to see, look, fan club's already calling in.
The Netherlands.
He's got international callers.
Oh
Netherlands.
God.
So basically, my collection has gone from just 124 scale to now 164 scale, and he actually kickstarted my Fast and Furious section with a big boost of cars that's hard to get as far as the sets are concerned. So, you know, that's kind of how I got started with this 164 scale Hot Wheels. So let's just kind of see how, you know, where JB's background is as far as cars, because he is a real car guy, not just the Hot Wheels, but actual real car guy. So if you can kind of just like tell us how you started with cars, whether it was the actual Hot Wheels or was it the real cars, and how you got into this.
My very first car, I was very fortunate, back in 75, was a 1968 Camaro. And that was my first, what I considered a muscle car era. And to this day, that's my favorite car, is the 67, 68 Camaro. And then I just followed that up with a series of muscle cars. I had a Nova SS, I had a Monte Carlo SS. Then I got into a couple of imports. I had a Mazda RX-7 at one time. But somewhere along the line, I started collecting cars because I was actually looking for a less expensive hobby. Long story short, I actually collect horses, and it got very expensive, in which I ended up switching over to cars, thinking it would be less expensive, and boy, was I wrong about that. I got into the Redline Club many years ago, but prior to that, I started collecting the actual red lines, and those are the Hot Wheels that came out in 68, same year as my favorite car. That's why the Camaro is my favorite car. But the red lines actually started in 68, and they carried on to about 1977. So I have a huge collection of red lines, and anyone who collects red lines knows that those are expensive cars today. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they were 50-some cents back then, but the same car today can cost $500 to $4,000. I did a little Blackwall. It really wasn't my generation. The Blackwall started in 77, and they went to 88. A lot of my customers that come in are of that generation, so they're constantly looking for Blackwalls, which kind of forced me to get into the hobby of collecting Blackwalls as well. But my main collection started when my nephew was 10, and he's 46 today. So we've been collecting together for 36 years.
Okay.
And I accumulated so many cars that I have a Hot Wheels room, I have a Hot Wheels walk-in closet, and I have a third car garage that I decided to open up a store. So I came to Smiley's about 2 years ago, and I started outside with the tables. And the business just kept growing, where I was getting asked about more premium and more specialty cars, which was hard to do out there in the elements. So I decided to come inside, and I came in here. It was around the middle of August. I opened up and was able to bring a much larger selection of cars, both premium, collectible, Redline Club, which drew in a lot more traffic. Because the guys our age are really looking for the specialty cars. Like you said, you started with Fast and Furious, and I happen to have a couple of those Fast and Furious sets. The one that I called the Holy Grail. What Silk doesn't know is I've got 2 more sets that I'm going to show him next week that he doesn't have yet, to add to that collection. And I also picked him, his favorite car is the Skyline. I picked him up a few more Skylines I think he's going to enjoy.
Oh, no.
And it's going to cost him a little bit of money, but that's what we like to spend it on, things that we love.
That's
so,
right.
That's the short version of how I got here, and I really like interacting, Silk. I like, as you know, you and your nephew, we hit off right away because we like cars and we like collecting, and it just opened up a whole lot of conversation about the different kind of cars we like. I will add too that prior to opening my store outside, I didn't really do a lot of import collecting, but the younger generation is very big into import cars, and I had to learn a lot quickly about import cars to increase my inventory and understand what I was looking for that other folks would be looking for as well. So that's how I got into the import side of it. Other than that, I was always into the muscle cars or old cars.
Okay.
So
now, what car is on your radar now? Real car?
Well, I wanted to get another '68 Camaro, but I'm kind of looking at a truck. I got into trucks about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and the truck that I'm thinking about, which would be kind of a combination muscle car, muscle truck, is the Shelby.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the Shelby, and to your point, I didn't realize, I thought 100 grand was the big ticket. That's really entry level into the Shelby.
Yes.
150, 160 is where I'll probably end up at
right.
if I really get the one that I want.
Right.
But, that's if I end up not getting another Camaro, but the Camaro is still in the back of my mind. It's still something that I passionately want, which was the main reason I opened the store, was to help finance that. What I didn't realize is by opening the store and financing everyone else's loves and likes, I'm putting more money back into the store as fast as I'm making it, just to keep things fresh and hot and exciting here,
right.
so that the true collectors keep coming in.
Okay. So you've been collecting, you said,
About 36 years.
About 36 years. So in your years of collecting, what was like maybe a person, you know, like sometimes we go to like a Barrett Jackson and you may see, okay, for example, I went to West Coast Customs, and everybody knows that's like a pretty big show where they restore cars and fix up even newer cars. And then when I went to Vegas, I went and saw counting cars, you know, that whole establishment. So, but I didn't get to meet the actual.
You didn't get to meet the count.
Yeah, I didn't get to meet the count. I didn't get to meet anybody except the staff.
It's so funny. There is a Vegas convention in March.
Are you going?
I wasn't going. No, I was, and then I wasn't. I was going to take my nephew, but his business won't allow him to be gone during that week.
Okay.
But they do have some VIP tickets left, Silk, if you wanted to consider it. Maybe we could see the count at the same time.
Yeah.
I've actually never been to an actual car convention. I've been to many toy shows where I met many Hot Wheel collectors, which is where I accumulated a lot of my red lines at a reasonable price. I have yet to be to my first convention. I'm going to one for sure in Atlanta in March. And then I'm looking to go to one in Kentucky in June.
Okay.
So it'll be the first time I actually go to an actual die-cast car convention.
All these years and no convention. Shame.
Remember, I told you I have that horse love as well. And I've been to a lot of those conventions over the years, which happen to be in Kentucky. I'm going to actually
try to tie the two.
Tie the two in June.
Yeah. Okay. So you're kind of in the same boat as me, because like me, I want to go to SEMA for the first time like this year. So that's my plan, is try to go to SEMA. But yeah, that's interesting about the other. So what are the conventions?
The convention is really the biggest one's Detroit, believe it or not.
Yeah, right.
And I would love to go to that. I actually lived up there for many years in that area when I was working for when I wasn't retired and I was working. We'll leave it at that for another company, but didn't get to go. I did hit a couple of, like I said, a lot of toy shows when I was up there, and that's where I got a ton of the hard to find cars is at those shows. The thing about the conventions that are unique and different is they have so many different convention cars that if you don't go to the convention, you really don't get your hands on. and those cars can retail anywhere from $200 to $4,000 within 6 months of them being released.
I think you showed us one.
Yeah, well, they have a VIP club at different levels. Like the one in Vegas, they have a 250 VIP, they have a 500 VIP, and then they have the 2500 VIP. And the different VIPs allows you to get so many cars. Like the 500 VIP would allow you to get 14 different convention cars. And it also gets you in the door at some of the special parties where those are the only times those limited cars are available.
Gotcha.
The 2500 gets you to every part. So it gets you the opportunity to get into every single private party that would have specialty cars you'd never get your hands on just going to the convention.
So when you say 500 and 2500, is that the price of
the ticket?
Price of admission?
So the 500 is, like I said, there's 14 cars this year. I was reading up on it last week. There's 14 different cars you would get, and you have to be on site. You can't just sign up.
Yeah, that's usually how
you have to be on site, and throughout the convention, you'll get these different cars at different get-togethers. Then they have the 2500. The main difference between the 2500 and the 500 is it includes your lodging for the entire 4-day period. And it also includes some private parties that you wouldn't get to go to if you were just part of the 500 VIP or the 250 VIP. Those are the cars that are really the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 cars.
Okay.
That, and you're paying for it. You're paying more for them.
Yeah.
Than what you would
so
pay.
That's the 2500.
Yeah.
But I mean, it almost makes it worth it because it's nice that it must be present to win. So you actually see winners because sometimes you enter raffles and all these things and say, oh, I wonder if anybody actually won. But with events like that, you actually can see the people that are winning. So that's kind of a cool thing. But yeah,
I do believe they do raffles and stuff. Like I said, I've never been to one. This is just what I've been reading about the Vegas one because I was very serious about going to it. I think the biggest thing that I would look forward to with the conventions, or even when I go to the toy shows where they have the die-cast cars, is you look to complete whatever you're collecting. So I've had in my Redline collection the Camaro, the Corvette, and the Mustang. I'm trying to put the whole rainbow together. So those were part of the original Sweet 16 that came out in '68. There was 16 different cars that had a wide range of colors. I'm trying to complete those, especially the Camaros. So there's a couple colors I haven't been able to get my fingers on yet that I'm hoping to get this year when I go to a couple of these shows.
Okay.
And I'm going to pay up for them.
That's why he can't build his car. Because he's got these
toy cars.
Toy cars.
Literally. Exactly.
So we were talking to Denarius, who we were mentioning before, and he told me, he said, hey, when you get done with these 124 scale, because they're a lot more expensive, the Hot Wheels ones are a lot cheaper. Well, that's a lie. Because I know there's some cars that are like he said, it could be $60 and it's just come out and range up to hundreds of dollars. There's a car we were looking at, it's a GTR, a pink one, and it's pre-selling for $300. Pre-selling. It isn't even out. So don't listen to anybody who tells you that Hot Wheels are cheap, inexpensive hobby to get into. It's not. Because when you get into, like you said, the red lines and the specialty cars that everybody's looking for, it can get expensive really fast. So what is your one like unicorn car that you have that's like hard for you to find that you found?
I found a creamy pink Camaro. So when I'm trying to put that rainbow together, back in the 60s, think about it, boys were boys, and that was considered a
girl
color. It was a girl color, so there wasn't a lot of those that survived. So when you can find a creamy pink, it's a big deal, especially if you can find it in the right condition. So I do have the creamy pink. I had the rose, which is very, very hard to come by, and I sold it. So now I'm trying to find the rose and get it back.
So was it worth selling it? Sometimes it's worth selling it.
Yeah, no, I made someone very happy, Is I enjoyed that moment. I enjoyed what I was able to get for it. But then about 24 hours later, I was ready to cry, and I immediately started researching, looking for another one. So I haven't found one even close to that because it was mint.
Oh my god!
It looked like it came right out of the blister.
So
it really did.
So instead of buyer's remorse, he had seller's remorse.
Seller's remorse, exactly. That has happened. My wife, she just scratches her head because she can't. What are you frowning about? Well, I just sold that car. She said, "That's good. How much you get?" "That's great." I go, "Well, no, because I'm probably going to have to replace it. It's going to cost more." She goes, "You're not."
Yeah, but the good thing I think is when you're in this business too is there's so much rotation of people, like new people coming in, like like myself, Denarius, that you never know what someone's got in their collection that they're willing to part with. Correct. That you're looking for. So in the grand scheme, you probably can trade, say, a tuner car to this person who happens to have one of those cars and like, I'm not really into tuners. So hopefully, now that y'all know what he's looking for,
somewhere down the road, I'm looking for that Rose 68. It's actually a 67 Camaro, but it came out in 68.
Yeah, so if you know where there's one, just put it in the comments, and he will reach out to you. But there's always that unicorn. For me, like when I was looking for the Fast and Furious 124 scale, the unicorn defined was the tank. Nobody had the tank. And they had them online, and the cannon was like bent and melted or whatever. But I found a mint condition, but it wasn't in the box. That was the only downside. But I was taking them out of the boxes anyway because I actually want to display them. But the tank was the hardest one for me to find in that setup. And now it's just GTRs and whatever other Fast and Furious stuff is out. And now Fast 10's coming out soon. So I'm starting to see a couple of those cars even coming out.
I saw where there's going to be a new set come out of
the 10. Yeah.
So don't worry, I got you covered.
Yeah, there's that. And then we were talking about meeting some of the people at these events, and then there was a S2000 that's hiding around here somewhere. That was just, you have the car out?
Yeah, let me grab it real quick.
And we'll talk about why this car is interesting. Just because there are like a lot of people who are just car lovers and stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna show y'all this car while JB kind of explains why the significance of this car. And here it is. So yeah, if you don't mind, just kind of tell us why that car was developed by Hot Wheels.
So this one released this past year, and this particular one is in recognition of the gentleman that's pictured on the blister card. He was one of their designers and actually designed cars for them for many, many years. And this was his car. He actually drove this car. And he was in an accident and passed away. So they actually made basically a copy of what his car was and released it in memory of him, in recognition of all of his service with Mattel. And there's a little bit of a story on the back. He was a legendary designer. He'd been with them for many, many years. He was big on the Spectre Flames, which are very hard paint jobs to do. But that was his car, and a lot of people are collecting it. And it's in my collection. It's soon to be in Silk's collection. He reminded me I didn't have that in his box today.
Oh, so let's talk about this box. Going down this rabbit hole, I like to call rabbit holes. Denarius had a box that he started about 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden last week, when I thought I brought enough money to purchase everything and then some, and then to come to find out, I didn't. So then we have this magical box that magically seems to develop into like a tumor. It just keeps growing and growing. And you see this box.
Silk's is pretty full right now.
And it's not $5. It's hundreds of dollars.
No, it's not.
It's definitely not $5. But, okay, so there is an interesting thing in that box too, because going back to the bigger cars, every now and then JB will get these, and you can, I guess, describe this.
This is a 124 M2. But what's unique about this square body truck is it's considered a chase. So the regular trucks would not be trimmed in gold. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's got the gold wheels, it's got the gold mirrors, the gold handles, the gold bumpers, the gold grills. Everything's trimmed in gold, which makes it a chase. The chases in this particular one was only 750 made worldwide. So the regular color, there was like 80, actually this one was only 6,600 made. So this isn't even a high production. Their high productions are 84 to 9,600. So, but the rarity of this is that there's only 700 of them out there. And we happen to have one here that Silk just fell in love with. He couldn't help himself.
Okay. See how, this is what I'm saying. $5 is fake. It's more like $500 at the end of the day. But so what like I said, I've only been in this like a month and a half, and I don't even want to talk about how deep I've got into it. So if you were to give a newcomer like myself some advice on what to do or how to go about collecting these things, if you were looking, well, I guess there's two sides of the coin. One side is people who just buy them from various stores just because they want to have fun, and then there's people like me who are like looking for specific things, and some of them do get a little pricey. So on both sides of the coin, what would you like say for a brand new person who just want to have fun collecting cars?
The biggest thing about collecting cars, and I don't care what anybody tells you, whether they say they have expensive cars, they have inexpensive cars, it's about the chase or the hunt. It's about finding something. What Silk's doing is he's kind of playing catch up to some cars that he loves, and he's going backwards, and those cars tend to be even more expensive when you have to back up. We were looking at a couple Skylines
right
back and forth on our phones the other day, and the cheapest those cars go for is $350 to $500. Well, only 3 or 4 years ago, those cars were only $35 plus shipping. You know, so if I'm telling you how to start collecting, I would start by going online and looking to see what that year's release is in cars. So for Hot Wheels, you'd want to see what they call the basic car is, and there's hundreds of those, but you can actually go online and see every one of those. If you want to get into the specialty cars, they have the treasure hunts, they have the super treasure hunts. Before Silk got here, I was actually researching super treasure hunts for 2023 to see what was out there, because if you really want to have fun and you're not willing to spend some gas money, you can go out and search for those cars. There's very limited numbers of super treasure hunts and treasure hunts that are in the boxes, and when those boxes come out, they hit the shelves. If you're fortunate enough to be that lucky person that finds that super treasure hunt, you're picking it up for about $1.18. If you walk into my store, you're picking it up for about $50 to $60, depending on what it is, and how much of a demand, how much of a demand there is for that particular car. So, but I would just suggest going online, learning what's out there for 2023, and you can go out and start hunting. If you want to get into the collectible side, you can also join the Red Line Club, and they release 12, 15 cars a year. And when I say release, the way that works is you get a notification there's a release coming up, and it's like an actual release date where they'll kick that thing off at noon on a Tuesday. And you have to get on and try to get your order in before they run out. And depending on what car it is, it can run out in 60 seconds, or it can run out 3-4 minutes, or some may go a day or two. If it goes a day or two, the likelihood of it being a really good car
not that great.
Isn't that great. Maybe 5-10 years down the road it is. But the ones that go in seconds are the ones that are going to be highly collectible.
Okay.
So flea markets, big,
very big,
very big. And I'll tell you what, when I say go shopping, don't just go to your local Walmart. Go to your Dollar Trees, go to your dollar stores. They get a lot of inventory, and a lot of people don't realize the inventory they get in. And they're happy to bring the boxes out too if they have them.
Yeah.
So, but you also have your regulars that like to kind of plant themselves in those stores. So I always suggest going to outlining markets. Go to the outlining markets, and you'll have a better luck at finding some stuff that won't cost you 50, 60 bucks.
Yeah. I think one of the only other resources that I've found that JB didn't talk about was just asking some of your friends, because some people have collections that they started and then it kind of, you know, grew out of it or just forgot about it, and it's just sitting in a plastic tub somewhere waiting on a yard sale. So yard sales, just ask your friends and say, hey, do you have any Hot Wheels? Because that actually is how I found some, just asking some of my friends. So that is another route. But I have to agree, I think the chase of trying to find it is actually where the fun is. Having it and being able to display it is nice, but I know, like Denarius and I, when we did start the Fast and Furious route, he scoured all of Interstate 75, Walmarts and dollar stores looking for these cars, and I went all the way down to Orlando and went to searching on the web different flea markets to find pretty much the rest of it, and I ended up with the 1/24 scale only having to order like 3 cars that I was able to find on Amazon. And then there were some specific cars too, and I'm sure it's similar with the 164, because there are some companies where these guys will take a car and they'll strip it down to metal and make a custom car. So I actually met a guy in Canada who is actually, and those cars will be here today, building me the Mona Lisa car from Tokyo Drift, as well as Sean's Lancer drift car. So that's another thing, and they're not per se from Mattel or whoever, but a lot of times it's about finding what you want. It's not always about just finding something that's already been packaged, because finding one of those one-off cars that someone handmade is also interesting and good to have, because collecting is collecting. And you know, I always tell people, I said it's worth what it's worth to somebody who really wants it, because like if this car here is $100 to someone who's really looking for that one car, it may be worth $1,000 to them. So, you know, it's worth what it's worth. But I definitely agree. I think just trying to find whatever it is you're looking for. And like me, now that I got the Fast and Furious thing going, to be able to find all the different styles, colors, and variations of the Skylines from the 32 to 35, that's the fun. And then I've seen a wagon version, which I've never even seen a wagon. So anything like that, I think, is where it's really the fun of it is where it's at. And yeah, it can get kind of expensive, but you don't have to, you know, start expensive. Like you said, if you're able to just catch it when you're already, when it's coming out, versus me who's going back to the past instead of into the future. Yeah. It gets kind of pricey, but it'll level out, and then one day, you know, you get to the point, I think, where you're just like, okay, it's time for me to start selling this stuff, and then you sell it, and then you move on to the next thing, and then the next person enjoys it, and then, you know, the legacy of that whole process just keeps going on. So that's pretty much, I guess, the main stuff of collecting Hot Wheels with my man JB in the building. But so if people wanted to reach you, what would be a good way for them to reach you?
I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm on Facebook, and I say that because I'm not a person that's plays around with all electronics, but I'm on Facebook, JB Collectibles at Smiley's.
Okay, I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, and my phone number is 941-405-9813 if you have any questions about any specific cars, or you want me to help you track something down. I try to be as reasonable as I can when I'm trying to locate something you're trying to complete a collection on.
Or if you have the car he's looking for,
oh yeah,
call him, Facebook him.
You know, there's a lot of trading going on behind the scenes, trust me.
And trading is another thing, because, you know, I tell people all the time, everything, like, this is not just like a toy or whatever. It's actually money in a sense, because you can trade. It's like, okay, I can have this, which, you know, I have 2 of, but I really need that. So it's, you know, everything equates to money. And I say that a lot, because even right now I am building I have a Dodge Viper, and you can probably see it in one of the links on the video, and I'm trying to make it into a life-size my own version of a Hot Wheels car, and I went and looked at it today. So, you know, and to get it done, I did some trading. It wasn't really any money exchange. It was he needed something that I had, and it's trading is a great way to get rid of something you really maybe don't need for something you really want. So, yeah, definitely. But definitely give him a call, hit him up on Facebook. He's very, very fair, and if he can find it, he'll find it. If you have something that he may want, you know, just reach out to him. But appreciate y'all for hanging out. Like, subscribe, and follow JB Collectibles. All right?